All right, let us begin. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're excited to dive into the second session of the year-end process webinar with all of you. But this year, we're mixing things up a bit. We would like the session to be a lot more interactive. So we encourage you all to put on your cameras. It's okay if your background isn't fine. You could blur the background and, we just want you all to be comfortable because we want to help you guys throughout this process this year. All right, so hopefully you guys feel more comfortable to put on your cameras throughout the webinar. All right, we are doing a series, so today we'll be covering monthly, bi-monthly, and weekly processes. And just a heads up, there'll be a separate webinar for those who do fortnightly payrolls on December 11th. So you can look out for that to register. Just a few reminders, the presentation will take 1 hour long. So please mute your mics while the presentation is ongoing, but feel free to unmute it to ask your questions when we open the floor for the Q&A. All right, yep, it's time for the year-end process. Now I'll hand you over to Alana.
Thank you, Kaylee. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's really lovely to see so many of you joining us today for our year-end webinar with a focus specifically today on monthly, weekly, and bi-monthly payrolls. All right. So I know that many of you, hold on, close off this chat. All right. Just to confirm, you all are seeing my screen, yes? If anybody's not seen my screen, let me know, or you could put it in the chat.
No,
You all are seeing my screen, right?
Yes, your screen is.
Okay, thanks. Right. So I have been with MCS Software for over 10 years. And yes, it is a long time. And almost every year, there are some clients that, they don't really call during the year because they have a simple payroll. Maybe it's a monthly payroll. But, sorry, they call at the end of the year because they feel a little nervous, perhaps, to close off the year on their own. So last year, there was this one client that called. And again, she doesn't call often. Let's call her Karen. No offense to any Karens here today, right? And I said, okay, I'll log in. And I said, okay, you go ahead and, do your stuff and let me just look at what you're doing. So she made her backup. She had already checked her reports. But in going through the process to close the year, when she clicked on year end process and it came up with that prompt to say, this cannot be undone. Are you sure you want to continue? She actually said, oh my God. And she felt, I realized that it is in that moment when the prompt came up that she felt that anxiety, or that nervous feeling. So in realizing that, I hope that at the end of our webinar today, that you all can feel fully confident and comfortable to complete your year-end process without any of that anxiety acting up when you click on that button and you see that prompt, which you'll see later. Kadeen will show it to you all right? So just a quick webinar snapshot of what we'll be doing today. I will be going through a couple reasons as to why your reports may not balance. I'll also be giving you some important tips, and then Kadeen will take over to show you the reports to check. We will pause for a quick question and answer, or just to make sure that everybody is, following and with us before we continue. We would then review the backup process and updating your software. And then we have the start of the show, which is the year-end process, right? And after that, a quick review of your preferences after you've closed the year, and a short demo on using Max, our newest and coolest support tool, right? And after that, we are going to open the floor for you all to ask all of your questions. We'll try to answer as many of them as we could. And you all, again, could feel free to turn on the cameras. Don't be shy, all right? It will be really nice to see you all. And, for the newer ones to put a name to the faces, all right? So let's continue on today with our webinar. So some of the main reasons that your report may not balance. The first reason may be that your year-to-dates may not have it sometimes on posting runs, for example, you may have a year to date for one person, maybe a health surcharge value that may get thrown off. And doing a reset on the year to date would fix that. So I'm gonna share my screen so that you all can see Micropay. Because I'd really like you to remember we want to be a little more interactive. All right. Are you all seeing my Micropay screen, Kadeen? Yeah?
Yes.
All right, great. So within Micropay, I know that most of you all are familiar with your TD4 Reset All button. Okay, so you normally would get this via the TD4 screen. This, however, is only available after you've closed off the year. If you look here now, you'd notice that, of course, there is no 2024 because we're still within 2024. So if you go into your employee maintenance screen, under the year-to-date totals tab, you would notice that there is also a reset all button here. All right, so this is where I'm talking about when I say that you should do a reset all probably quarterly or, at least halfway through the year to make sure that there is no issue as a precaution. So generally, this should not change anything, but just in case there might be a little issue, it will fix it. It will fix it prior to you closing the year and then having to do your TD4 and realize that there was a problem. At that point, it's a bit too late to really fix anything and you have to do manual adjustments. All right. So it's not really going to change anything. I mean, it should not, but if it does, then hooray, you could have correct year to dates and continue on with your payrolls. So within here, you have the reset all button. Of course, if you're going to do this, you're going to make a backup prior to doing this so that you have a restore point in case of any issues. So once you've backed up, you can come in and choose reset all. It will ask you to confirm, you select yes, and it does the reset all for everybody, and you simply save, and that's it. Okay, so that is one simple thing that you can do to ensure that, okay, I can't switch it. Are you all seeing the slideshow?
No, it's on Micropay right now.
Still on Micropay. All right, that's fine. We'll go ahead with Micropay. Right, the other reason that it may not match would be that there is a mix-up between your start figures and your external start figures. So this is something that I get very often. Either it's an email or people calling about it because they're really not sure. And I want you all to be absolutely sure at the end of the session today as to what they both do, right? So for start figures, this would only apply to brand new Micropay clients starting within 2024 to use Micropay. For most of you all here, you've already been using it for the last few years. So start figures will actually never apply to you all again. All right. Do we have anybody that's new to Micropay in 2024 here? I can't see, but I'm seeing just a few people. But
You can raise your hand by clicking the react button on the bottom of the screen.
mm-hmm. All right. Anybody is brand new to us to Micropay this year? Kavita. All right. So Kavita would have actually had to plug in her start figures for her employees, which would have represented, let's say that she started to use Micropay in July 2024. From January to June, she would have actually done payrolls. So her start figures would have been her payroll totals from January to June that she would have had to enter into here as her starting figures. All right. That applies to brand new people in 2024. Okay. External start figures, as the name implies, remember the word external as a reminder for you if you forget, that this is for employees coming in from an external company into your company during the year. So you would enter their total income year to date. Now, if they bring in two pay slips for you, add up the figures and combine it into one figure. All right. Total health surcharge paid, total PAYE, if any, and total NISP. So in both cases, you would save them and then you have to go into year-to-date totals and click on the reset button. At this stage, you are resetting one employee only. You're not going to reset all. You're just resetting this person. It is going to pull across the values that you would have entered, and then you simply save again. So start figures for brand new Micropay users within 2024. You enter your start figures as at whatever date that would be, right? You save it. And if it's external start figures, you would enter and save as well. Then you go to year-to-date totals, click on reset, look at it, make sure the figures come over, and then you save again. So sometimes people go in, they put in the figures, they don't do this step, and then they put in the start figures or the external start figures. The POI is still wrong and not seeing the figures. Of course, you didn't click on reset. Okay, so that's an important step to remember. Okay, so looking again at the reasons why we have our payroll dates. So your payroll dates are also very important. Now, generally, for those of you doing monthly payrolls, let me just switch back to the slideshow. Okay, you all are seeing the slides?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, great. Payroll dates. So these are important for monthly payrolls. Your payroll should always be dated the last day of the month, regardless of the day that you are processing your payroll. Cannot date it the 21st because you're processing on that day, because sometimes the last day could actually be a Monday. And if you date it at an earlier date, of course, you'll be missing a Monday, and then your NIS and health charge will be wrong. All right. So your payroll dates for monthly, last day of the month. If it's a weekly payroll, it should be consistent and correct. So sometimes people start off with their weekly payrolls, they end it on the Sunday, and for whatever reason, 3 months down the road, it switches to ending on a Saturday or on a Monday, and things get thrown off. So you want to be consistent with your ending day of your weekly payrolls. If it's a Saturday, stick to your Saturdays. If it's Sunday, stick to Sunday. All right, your weekly payroll should never end on a Monday. That is not recommended at all because it will throw off your NIS. So you should always be ending on either maybe a Friday or Saturday, or our recommendation is to end on the Sunday so that you are in accordance with the NIS week, right? So it should be consistent and it should also be correct. If we look at some other items that you need to be mindful of, we have the date of birth field, the date left field, and the date hired field. Now, all of these things impacts your calculations within Micropay. The date of birth field is important because if someone is over 60, you know that it stops health surcharge, right? Or if they're under 16, if you put in an incorrect date of birth for a new person, you will also not get taxes coming out. So that's important. The date left and the date hired, they also have implications on your taxes if it has the prorate stuff, and I should say your weeks employed at the point of doing your TD4. So a lot of calls come in after, during TD4 times that the weeks employed does not match the health surcharge weeks. And again, this is where your date hired and your date left. Those fields are important that they are updated correctly. Okay? Pension and benefit in kind. So we get a lot of calls about pension as well. A lot of you all may call in, you're not sure if you're starting a new company pension plan or somebody brings in a TD1 for you, you're not clear on what to do. So I'm going to show you today the two options for your pension. Are you seeing the Micropay screen now or no?
No, it's still on the PowerPoint.
Okay, I have to share it again. See now? Well, I'm seeing myself in it, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So pension. There are two options for pension. Well, the two main things that you need to remember. Number one would be that if your company has a pension plan within the company, an approved pension plan, you need to set up the pension as a deduction, and you need to tick the checkbox that says taxable, all right? And also part of salary so that it will project it for the remainder of the year. Now, if you notice, when this box is selected, you get a pop-up saying that if this is checked, the employee will receive a tax break or pay less tax. And this is for approved deductions. So, for example, if your pension is $200 a month, I'm just looking for somebody with it. Right, so we have a pension here. It's set up in the profile, and let's say it's $200 a month. It will project 200 if it's set up in January by 12 months to give the person a $2,400 tax break within their PAY calculation. So at the end of the year, they have nothing to claim back for it on their TD4 because they would have gotten the tax break up front. All right, so that is setting up a company pension. If you do not have a company pension, or you may have a company pension, but somebody might be paying an external annuity on their own, another one on their own, and they bring in an approved TD1 for you, you would go into yearly annuity and enter the value into here. So you put in whatever description you wish and you enter the annual amount. So it is also there for them to get a tax break. All right, this of course is only if they're bringing an approved TD1 that you can enter this in, okay? Right, so that's our TD1 and our pension as a company pension. Benefits in kind as well is important that they are updated and correct. So again, you enter the monthly BIK, right? You put whatever description and the monthly value to be taxed. You could put a start date and an end date, so it will end on its own depending on your end date. Again, these things all have implications for your PAYE, and it is important that they are set up correctly. Travel. So sometimes people call in about the TD4 where the travel is not showing in the traveling box. Within your addition maintenance for the travel, you need to make sure that it is called travel, specifically the word travel or travel allowance. Okay, that way it is translated at the end of each payroll when you post it off. If we look at the year to dates, it gets translated into the correct, into this box, which is travel. All right, so this is important that the description is correct, so it comes into your TD4 correctly. So those are the reasons that we normally have people calling in mainly about having any TD4 issues, and we want to try to have you capture them or understand them prior to closing the year, so we do not have to carry them into our TD4s, all right? Manual PAYE checks are also important. We are in November, to the end of November, but it's not too late. You could still do your manual checks on a few people and make sure that your PAYE is correct. So if there's any adjustments to be made, maybe if we have to help you with unposting or payroll, you could open a ticket for us to unpost so that at the end of the year, your PAYE is, correct. All right, I'm now going to pass you all on to Kadeen, who would be showing us the reports aspect of closing the year. All right, Kadeen, go ahead.
Hi, good day. Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Firstly, before I share my screen, I'd just like to share the importance of checking back your year-to-date information before you close your year. You don't want to wait until you've closed your year, you found a discrepancy and error, and at that point, you can't do anything about it besides editing the TD4 maintenance screen, which just edits the information for your TD4s, but does not actually correct the information in the system. So that's why it's very important to check those things back, check back your tax information and your BIKs, annuities, etc. So now I'll share my screen with you. Right, and 1 second, so take you to Micropay. And all right, so the first thing we're going to do is go to reports. The first set of reports that we're checking is the yearly reports. So we have the employee year-to-date summary reports, employee year-to-date summary from payroll runs, and employee year-to-date summary with start figures. So the employee year-to-date summary, this information is taken from the employee file, whereas the employee year-to-date summary from payroll runs, that information is taken from your actual payroll. So for those of you who new Micropay clients who have started in the calendar year 2024, as mentioned by Alana, you would have entered the start figures in the employee file. Those of you will be using this employee year-to-date summary with start figures. So what you have to do is take either the employee year-to-date summary from payroll runs for existing or older clients and compare to the employee year-to-date summary, or for the new clients, new as in starting within the year 2024, you are using the employee year-to-date summary with start figures and comparing these to the employee year-to-date summary. So I'm now going to take you into the employee year-to-date summary. Right, so let me just drag this across. Right, so here you have your report. It is firstly filtered per department, and within each department, then you will see a list of the employees within that department. You also have your rates of pay, your travel, additions, benefit, pension, deductions, and your various taxes resulting in your net. You will also see a subtotal for each department. And on the last page, you will see your grand total for each column. All right, and now I will take you to the employee year-to-date summary from payroll runs. So you will also notice that these columns are the same as the ones listed in the employee year-to-date summary. It is also filtered per department and the various employees within that department. Now you may also notice that there is a loan column in this report, but this has no bearing on your TD4 information. Therefore, you would not see this in your employee year-to-date summary. This would actually show that difference when you're trying to balance between the pay run data report and the employee year-to-date summary. But anything outside of that, if you notice that you did deduct that loan figure and you're still not balanced, what do you do? At that point, I would suggest that you go back into the payroll runs, but in this filter window, there is an option at the bottom here called show details. So you're taking that and you're going into it. What that does is it shows you a breakdown of each payroll that employee would have been in for 2024. Right? So when you open this report, the first steps that you would have to do is compare your subtotals for each department to the subtotals in the employee year-to-date summary report. When you find that discrepancy or that difference, that is where you're going to each employee within that department and look for that difference. When you find that employee, then you go to their information. You check in your travel, additions, benefit, pension, deduction, or your taxes. All right. And at that point, when you found the column with that person, with that discrepancy, then you look for the payroll that they are in. At this point, then you are going to the pay run screen, right? So you're going into your payroll and you are searching for your payroll here. At this point, you have the option to log a ticket for us to unpost your payroll to make your changes. However, I know some of you prefer not to make any changes, especially if you've been balanced, and that's okay. At that point, you can leave it as is. And if you prefer to close off the year with the information, you can make that adjustment in the new year in your TD4 maintenance screen. Right? So let's go back to the reports. Now with the employee year-to-date summary with the start figures, it shows you the year-to-date totals for all the payrolls in Micropay, which you will see on the top here. However, your start figures will be seen in this line. Now, this database I am using does not have start figures. However, if you do have start figures, you will see them here. And this grand total, you will have to compare to your employee year-to-date summary. If you see an imbalance, you check through the same way. You look for your department, compare your department totals, then compare your employees. And once you've isolated where the difference is coming from, that's where you can, if you have not figured out what are the next steps, you can contact us to log a ticket. All right. So now that we have covered yearly reports, let's go into employee reports. Here, you will be checking your annuity report. Now, this is important to check to make sure that it matches your approved TD1 for the current year, 2024. All right, so here you have a list of the different departments again. Within the departments, you have the employees. And here, for example, Bruce has a $300 annuity. Now, if you've noticed, this is not what he is supposed to be, what is supposed to apply to him. This is where you will now have to go to the employee file and make that change under the yearly annuity tab, as Alana has shown you before. Right. Our next report is the benefit in kind, or the BIK report. This is also important to check to make sure that you are up to date with your BIK information for your employees. Bruce as well has a BIK for 4,000. Again, if you've noticed that this is not the amount, you should go into their employee file and make the changes to the monthly benefit tab. Okay, so now that we have checked, or I've shown you how to check your reports, we'll pause here and we will allow you to ask any questions that you may have about what Alana and I both have said to you this morning. So are there any questions? Feel free to unmute your mics and ask, or you can raise your hand. And you can also, if you don't have a mic, you could put your questions in the chat. Are there any questions?
Karine, just in the meantime, we're waiting. Just see if they have questions. You all don't be shy, ask your questions. I actually was feeling that I forgot something, and I did actually forget something, which was showing the calendar with the weekly ending dates. So I don't know at what point you want to pause and let me do that, and you'll continue again. Or I could do it after you finish, whichever you prefer.
You can go ahead and take over now.
And then you'll do the year end?
Yes, yes.
All right. Are there any questions? You all can unmute. Come on. You all could talk to us.
Sharita raised her hand.
Go ahead.
Sharita here. Right. So my question is just because I had told you all recently with regards to an employee joining us, and I was guided with the external figures.
Right.
But I didn't have a PAYE figure from what you all what just to verify when I get the salary that the person came in with, the employee, they are supposed to also have that figure there that we are supposed to plug in.
Well,
The
it depends on if the
PAYE.
person paid PAYE or not. So you need to check back and see if they have a zero PAYE year to date, or if there is a PAYE year to date value. If it does have one, you will need to put it in.
Okay. All right.
And do the reset again, right? To refresh the year to dates.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Also, Sharita, you will need to also check for NS and health surcharge. The NS will also affect the PAYE. So you'll need to put in that value too.
Right. Both the NIS and health. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
all the taxes and the total income.
Thank you.
All right. In the meanwhile, we're waiting for any more questions. I'm just gonna share again. So I can go through that.
Alana, can you go over the start figures as well when you're showing them?
Start figures or external start figures?
External
Well,
and
both of
start
them, yeah.
figures, yes.
All right. Are you all seeing my, I don't know why this not switching. Are you all seeing Micropay?
So I've stopped sharing, so yes, you can go ahead. Yeah, I'm not seeing Micropay. We're seeing your
You're seeing the
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go through the start figures and stuff first, and then I'll come back to the PowerPoint. All right, so let me stop sharing again. So I have to switch to my Micropay. All right, seen Micropay. Okay. So let's use examples just to give you all again an explanation. Kavita, what company do you work at? Let's say Kavita works at, I'm not sure, what company do you all have the name of your companies on?
So just to clarify, I am new to Micropay, but the company that I work for is not new to Micropay.
Or you new to Micropay? Well, we'll
Yes.
use you as an example for external start figures, right? So
Okay.
let's start there. So Kavita came in to work at a new company this year from another company. So she came in to work for, let's say, MCS Software Limited, right? We would have to take her external figures that she brought in from the external company, and realize I use the word external a lot, right? So those figures will go into external start figures. So whatever she worked for at company X, she brings in her payslip to the MCS director, let's say is Karen, and Karen will plug in her income year to date here, her total health surcharge, PAYE, and NIS paid. All right, so this will then be saved. I'm going to show you somebody that I actually put figures into, right? So let's look at Sharice's profile. You would save it. Then you go into year-to-date totals. Click on the reset button. Do not click on reset all. Click on reset alone, and you save it again. So that's going to take care of putting in her figures for her PAY calculation to be accurate at the end of the year. Now, at the end of the year, when MCS software gives her a TD4, it will minus the external start figures out of the year to dates to give her a TD4 only showing what she earned within MCS, right? So in this case, I did one payroll already for this employee. So it added, and her salary is $6,500, right? So when you reset it here and you start doing payrolls for the person, it starts to add to the year to date. And at the end of the year, it simply minuses them to give you the difference, which is what they earned within that company on the TD4. She will still need to go back and get her TD4 from the other company that she worked for that portion of 2024. All right, you all clear on that? So that is using external start figures. The start figures, I don't think anybody here will need to worry about it because none of you are brand new to Micropay in 2024. And if you are, then this will only be applicable to you in this year because you started using it in 2024. So the key one to remember is really the external start figures. As I said, I use the word external a lot. Think of it, the person coming from an external source, so it's going to go into external. Also, a lot of people forget this step to go into the year to dates. Click on reset because the values are required in two places. Because this ultimately is where it's going to pull it for your PAY calculation. All right, so you're all clear on that?
Alana, I have a question. So you're saying that if we are new to Micropay in 2024, right? But
Right.
suppose we bought Micropay in, let's say, June 2024, and we used the manual system before. Do I use the start figures to put in all of the salaries that I would have earned from January to June before starting using Micropay? If I'm doing a manual, let's say I was doing a manual or
Well,
coming over from a different system.
Yeah. It depends. If you're coming over from a manual system and you have the resources and the time to actually go in and do the payrolls, the actual payrolls from January, then by all means you will not use start figures. You'll be doing the actual payrolls, right? But a lot of people coming in do not have the time, or they're not coming from a manual system, so they are able to easily get their year-to-dates from, let's say, a payslip or a report. So
And
it's
in
easier
that case,
for them.
we just put in the year-to-dates there.
Correct.
In the
You
start
plug it into
figures.
the start figures. So let's say they're starting with us in June. As I said before, you put start figures as at the end of June, and this will represent the total payroll values, the sum of them for that period. So then you could start your actual payrolls from July. But the PAYE and the TD4 will be correct because everything will be entered appropriately. Any other questions on this topic, you all?
I have hello.
Yes.
Okay. I have a question. If you have multiple payrolls, for example, you have somebody who is fortnightly paid or bi-weekly, and you want to move them to monthly paid payroll using the same process as you explained, where you put in their figures and start figures, so they will have one TD4
You're
on the
sounding a little
monthly, so
muffled.
they will join the figures and they will have one TD4 for the entire year.
Anybody else heard the question clearly?
Are you
Who said?
asking if the person is originally bi-monthly or weekly and you decided to change them to monthly? Michael?
It sounded like that. It sounded like this person is a
Yes,
bi-monthly.
the employee
Right.
was.
Oh, so you have
Yes, they're
multiple
bi-monthly and you
databases
move them to monthly payroll.
within your own
Yes, you have
company that you
multiple
have multiple
databases
databases.
in one company.
Right. Is it that the companies are all under the same company name of, let's say, waste disposal in your case? With the same BR number and everything?
Yes.
Right. So in that case, you're going to use you could use start figures because they're coming from you want to just give them one TD4 at the end of the year. Whether they were under bi-monthly and they switch to monthly or weekly, you want to just give them one TD4 at the end of the year, wherever they end up, give them a TD4 from that company. So in that case, you would use start figures because they're not coming from a different company name. Understand? They come in within the same umbrella of waste disposals. So you just need to give them one TD4. So in that case, you can't use the start figures, but you would need to give them a date hired in here of 2024. So it's going to pull it into the year to dates. All right. You could use the notes tab here to record the actual data if you want to keep it, but you would need to have a 2024 data in the new database that they're moving to. All right.
So we have a few more questions. Do you want to show them what you wanted to show them, and then we will continue with the questions?
Yeah, let's do it that way because I want to make sure and cover that before we end. All right. So I'm going to share my screen again to show the PowerPoint. Right. So you'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. So for weekly payrolls, if we look at the calendar here, we have December 2024 and we have January 2025. The first Monday for January 2025 falls on the 6th, okay, of January. So for any payrolls, any weekly payrolls, this is specific to weekly payrolls, ending anywhere between the 30th to the 5th, well, the 30th, well, yeah, the 30th, this week, with the green period highlighted, right? Up until the 5th, just as a one-off option for this particular year, well, in this particular case, you're going to end it on December the 31st. All right, so it will cover that last Monday, which is the 30th, in December. And I mean, you normally would, let's say, end on the 4th, but of course, you cannot end on the 4th because you haven't closed the years yet, right? So you're going to end on the 31st of December. Your tax and everything will be correct. You can't use the comment or the payslip comment field so that your employees would know that, the payroll is dated the 31st, but it represents your payment up until the 4th, if that will make it easier for them to understand. But any weekly payroll that is ending up until the 5th here, which is the 5th of January, you must date it for that last payroll run, December the 31st. You would switch back to, let's say, the 11th after you've closed the year, as you normally would continue on with your payrolls on the Saturdays. All right, so that's just something that the weekly payrolls, anybody doing a weekly payroll, you need to be aware of that. Okay, so I am finished. Kadeen, you could continue, or we could review some more questions.
All right,
Let me-
so we have Shireen. Hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You were asking about the annuity reports. You can find the annuity reports in reports employee, and here you will find the annuity report. This report just lists all the annuities you would have entered in your employee file. Now, what you have here does affect the calculation of your taxes, your PAYE taxes, right? So you have the listing here for the annuity. You have Bruce here with a 300 annuity. And if you go back to Bruce's profile in the employees, you would notice under the yearly annuity tab, that is where you will see his annuity for 300, right? I hope I have answered your question. Trisha, you were asking if the external start figures are received late, like in the second or third month of employ. That's okay. You can still enter the external start figures, do the same process. You can enter it, save, then go to your year-to-date totals tab, and then do the reset. A reset, not a reset all. Be careful of this, all right?
And just to add to that, Kadeen, so you would have paid the person for 3 months already with all putting in the figures, right? You need to make sure that at the point where you are entering the figures, all of your open payrolls are posted off so that you don't change anything on those payrolls, right? And only at the point of posting everything, you could enter the values in so that when you start a new payroll, it will bring in the values and adjust the POI accordingly for the remainder of the year. Okay. We have Mala. Year-to-date showing an NIS minus. Yes, of course you did something wrong there. You need to go back now that you know the steps. Again, make sure your payrolls are all posted off for that person before you go and interfere with their year-to-dates, all right? Do the reset on that person, Mala, and you could email us and let us know if you're still having an issue, all right? The comment field on the payslip. Kadeen, you just want to quickly click on that? That's the comment field. All right, you could add, go ahead, Kadeen.
Yes, this is the payroll description here. So when you have the drop down, you could actually name your payroll here, whether it's bonus run 2024 or January regular payroll, commission 2024, etc. All right, and the comments field for the pay slip here is where you can either select all the pay slips for a particular run or per location, per department, or per employee, and you can put in a comment which can be seen at the bottom of your pay slip. Right, so let me do a test and show you.
All right, I'll answer Trisha's question. So Trisha, the fortnightly webinar, we're gonna have a specific one for fortnightly because that one is a little more tricky. That is carded for December 11th. So make sure that you register for that particular one where we will be specifically dealing with fortnightly payrolls. For the reason of time, we're not going to touch on fortnightly today, but we'll definitely cover it in that one. So make sure that you attend, all right?
All right. All right, so Sharon, are you clear on the dates for the payroll?
Well, Sharon, again, it would be that any payroll, and in your case, it's the 5th, you need to date that payroll December the 31st. Just as a one-off instance for this end of year, you will be dating it December the 31st. You're processing as normal. You could pay up until the 5th for those days, but you must end the payroll date as December the 31st. All right? No problem. Okay,
So,
Kadeen, you could continue.
no problem. So now that you've checked back your reports, the next step would be to do a backup. So you can go into File and select Backup. Now remember to close all these sections, screens, tabs before backing up and select OK. So remember, your backup folder must come from the SQL server. If you are having issues finding the server, you can reach out to your IT administrator to assist you with this. Okay, so you can do your backup and it's now successful. So our next step would be to do an update. So at times the reps may have asked you, what version are you carrying? We are asking for the version number on top here, the version 3.0.4261.2550. This 0.2550 is the version number that we are asking for. All right. So if you know you do not have 0.2550, you'll have to go to the Updates tab and select Software Updates. For the really older persons, you'll have to go to, not persons, Micropay versions, you'll have to go to the Help Center and you will see the software updates in there. So once you select Software Updates, you will see there are versions or updates available and you can select OK. But because I have 0.2550, I will get this message, I have the latest updates. All right, for the Dynamics clients, just remember not to do a software update. You'll have to reach out to us to get the latest version for you or for the TD4s in the new year. All right, so I would like to cover the, okay, sorry, I missed a step. So after you check your reports, before you do your backup, you're actually supposed to go into the payroll and check your payrolls to make sure that it is posted. Now, you are supposed to be posting your payrolls throughout the year before opening another payroll, as this affects the calculation of your taxes, your NIS health surcharge, and PAYE. All right. So at this point, you're supposed to have December payrolls open only. So what you can do, a little tip, you can select the header, run status, and this will group all the posted and the unposted. I don't have any unposted payrolls here, so you wouldn't see it. However, if you do, you will see the blank fields here. Okay, so check your payrolls, you check if your payrolls, you check your reports, check to see if your payrolls are posted, you do your backup, you do your updates. Our next step now is to do the actual payroll year-end process. So you go into task and you select year-end process. Now, this is the field that Alana mentioned with Karen and going, she was panicking. I have encountered clients like that. Even myself, the first time I encountered this, I was like, Alana, what am I doing wrong? But it's okay. This is all part of the process. Once you know you have checked back your reports, most importantly, you have done your backup, you have done your updates. This is all part of the process. When it says you're about to clear your year-to-date data, this is basically taking all the employees' year-to-date totals from the employee file and putting it into the TD4 maintenance table for you to then process your TD4s. It is also clearing 2024 year-to-date totals to make way for 2025 year-to-date totals, because you don't want for 2024 and 2025 to clash. All right. So when it says this cannot be undone, please confirm. That's okay. You still have your backup that you can restore if needed. All right. So at this point, you can select yes. So you can take a deep breath and you did your steps. It's okay. Select yes. So here you would have seen it's loaded and it's asking to save the changes. You select yes. If you select no, you will cancel this process and you'll have to start over. Now, before this popped up, there was a window that came up for a millisecond. At that point, that was where your employee year-to-date totals were resetting. In this window, we have the scene that the year end has completed, and we also have reminders because we'd like, in Micropay, we like to show you different reminders to help you process your payroll, right? So here we have the BIK annuities, the holidays. If you notice that you need to change anything, you can do so now, which I will show you when I have selected exit. So now you can log back into Micropay. Hi, Max. He's listening in, he's learning everything so he could help you after. Right, so I'm just gonna log in. Okay, so how do you know that you have successfully completed your year-end process? If you look to the top, you're going to see current year 2025. That means you have successfully completed it. If you see 2024, 2026, 2027, something didn't go right. So at that point, you could log a ticket with us. Okay, so at this point, if you need to change your BIK or your annuities, this is where you will go back into the employees file and you will go into the monthly benefit tab to adjust or change your BIKs, all right? Or you are going to your yearly annuity tab to change your annuities. The next step will be to go into file preferences. This is where you can change your holidays. This is especially important for the time clock persons. All right, so here's where you can add or edit your holidays. We would also suggest that you go into your PAYE tab to ensure that your settings are accurate. Now, there has not been any changes for 2025, so it should remain at the 90,000. However, I would suggest that you go in now to make sure that you're not at 72,000 or 84,000, as this will have an effect on the calculation of your taxes. So make sure that your personal or senior citizen deduction, your mortgage, tertiary, or alimony limit is accurate, and your ranges for the 25% and the 30% are accurate. Okay, so now that we have covered these things, again, I would like to remind you to go in and double check your annuities, your BIK, your tax information, because you still have 2 months left in the year to make any changes if needed. You have November, well, almost the end of November and December to process, all right, to correct this if needed. So I have shown you everything, and one more thing I'd like to cover is Max. So if you go, remember to go to Help Center and select Ask Max. So as stated before, everything that we have said today, he knows as well. Everything we learn, we teach him as well. So the first question I will ask is, what is the year-end process? So Janelle, I saw that you were asking before if you have any documentation for this year-end process. Max can assist you with this as well. All right, he covers the process with the backup, the updates, and how to click the year-end process. All right, another question we can ask is, what is the difference between external start figures and start figures? Okay, so here he's seeing the difference. The external start figures are when new employees start within the calendar year, whereas the start figures are for when the program is first installed. Okay, so any other questions you may have regarding the year-end process or any how-tos with Micropay, you can ask him. I'll also like to show you at the top here, if you click on him, It will take you to our YouTube's video library. It's currently up, we're currently working on it, so you will see at time to time new videos would be uploading. So I feel like I need to be like a YouTuber and say, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, right? So you'll get reminders or notifications if we have any new videos coming out. Okay, so at this point, I will now hand you back over to Alana. I hope this has been very informative to you. By a raise of hands, how many feel a little more confident in processing your year end? Or you could put it in the chat, we'll react.
Nice, nice.
Okay, all right then. So Alana, you can take it away.
All right, thank you, Kadeen. So just some key takeaways from our webinar today. You can do your reset all for your employee year-to-dates during the current year because that button is available on the year-to-date tab. You should, of course, balance your reports that Kadeen would have shown you all. You should also ensure that your benefits in kind and your annuities are correctly set up and that you have approved documents showing, especially for annuities, in case, you all get audited and all of that, you need to have those approved documents. Sometimes people forget and they leave the values in and it was applicable for one particular year, but they didn't get the corresponding documents for the other years and the values just stay there and, it's not really appropriately assigned. Right, I've put the backup button in red because we cannot reiterate enough. Backup, backup, backup. This year, I found that we had quite a few clients, their server crashed, and because they just had their backups on one primary backup source, which was their server, unfortunately, some of them had to start over from scratch. And I know that none of you all would ever want to have to experience that. So ideally, you should have your backups on a primary location, which is, for example, your server, your main server, and you can talk to your IT person about what is in place to have a secondary backup. Now, it sounds all technical, but it could just mean that you could copy a backup to a flash drive, or you could copy it to your machine and have the backup stored, at a second location. So if one goes down, you have another one in storage somewhere else that is safe. Sorry. And of course, you need to remember to close the year before starting 2025 payrolls. All right, so let's see if we have any more questions from you all.
Yes, we have a good few.
Okay.
All right. So
Marie.
leave balance. I'm starting with someone first, right? So leave balance on that payslip. How do I set that up?
Well, this is really a year-end webinar, so we would not be dealing with leave and anything pertaining to that today, and we're already over our allotted time. That payslip, I think Kadeen was able to show it because she's logged in as a system admin, but I think that's more a custom option. So it may not.
That is turned on per.
Yeah, I don't think that's available to everybody.
Yes.
So you could send us an email and we could see if it may be available to you depending on how you use your leave. All right.
All right, next question. What is the date for the new weekly payroll for 2025?
I would have put up, I sent a message there.
All right, seen it here.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'm seeing the next one would be if you have to update to the latest version, can we call anytime? Well, you can try these steps I spoke about before with the updates and select software updates. If you have any issues at that point, you can log a ticket with us.
Is reset all under employee?
Yes, it is under the employee maintain on screen. You have reset all on the year-to-date tab, and you have reset by itself. For those people that may be now starting, if you have to reset the start figures or the year-to-dates.
And remember to do a backup before doing a reset all.
Oh, yes. Very important.
I think that's it. No more questions, really. I feel like I
Well,
missed
you all
one.
should be really confident to click on that button at the end of the year. Nobody should have anxiety again or be stressed out about it, right? Any other questions? All right. Well, Kaylee, you wanna go
Yeah,
ahead
we can
and
close off
close?
here. All right, so thank you, Alana. Thank you, Kadeem. This brings
You're
us to the
welcome.
end of the webinar. Just to reiterate, we are having the fortnightly pay run on the 11th of December. So remember to look out for that email. We hope that you found this discussion helpful and engaging. Remember, if you have any questions or need further clarification on anything that was covered, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We appreciate your participation and look forward to seeing you all in the upcoming webinars.
Okay, bye everybody.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Yeah, goodbye.